All right, guys, welcome to the next episode of Black Metal Legends. We've got another very, very special guest today. It's Silenoz from Dimmu Borgir, and it's quite a big day for me because I've been listening to Dimmu Borgir since I was a teenager, and they're one of the bands that really helped me get started, well, get my foot into more black metal music and extreme music, and it's really, really exciting to speak to Silenoz today. So, yeah, really, really appreciate your time on Black Metal Legends here today.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, I just want to start off. Just let's talk about like just gear and stuff quickly, because how did your signature guitar come about? Because I'm curious because you went for a brand new shape as opposed to just having the regular like because I remember in the Insorte Diabli recording videos you were using a like a red V shape ESP. So what made you want to start and have your own signature guitar in like your own shape?
I think it was just me asking them, is it possible to kind of like edit the shape a little bit? And they're like, yeah, whatever. It's going to be your signature. It's going to be your custom. So I was like, okay. And being a huge fan of the V shape from before, obviously, and then combined with my fascination for great whites, I had to kind of round off the top fin a little bit. So that's how that came about, really. Mm.
Awesome. I didn't realize it was shark inspired because I thought it would have been more kind of like a Grim Reaper kind of scythe kind of thing.
Right. I guess that could be cool too. Yeah. But no, I was just in the idea of like combining these things forces. So and to put a little bit of a personal touch to it.
Gotcha. And what pickups are you using these days? Because I remember like back in the day you had the Camo Jackson. Didn't that have like EMGs and then your original first run of signatures have the Seymour Duncan actives as well?
Yeah, I had all the way in the beginning. I used Seymour Duncan passives, I remember, and then I switched to EMGs. I still have my old Ironbird, and that has an EMG 89 in it.
All right.
And then I was using EMGs for a while. Then I went into Seymour Duncan when they tried the live wires. I don't know, it's like a precursor to the blackouts, I guess. So I had them for a while. They were really, really hot. And then I turned to the regular main blackouts, and I've used Mick Thompson's Seymour Duncan's. And then I did a deal with lace pickups, which were passives, and I would switch back to that. But then that worked out in certain parts of the songwriting and certain parts of the live set. But I kind of missed the brutality. So I went back to actives again, and now I'm using the Fishman's fluence.
Gotcha. And they're really nice pickups.
Really, really nice, and it's kind of like if you're gonna compare it to, let's say, Seymour Duncan actives or EMGs. I feel like it has the best of both worlds, if you know what I mean. So it's a top modern pickup, and yeah, I love it.
Oh, that's great. And how was that? See, this is one thing I wanted to ask, which was the like the sound of Dimmu Borgir, because throughout the years, because I did a big deep dive into your discography in the lead up to this, and every Dimmu Borgir album has this very well kind of rounded sound, I guess. There's nothing that's overly too spiky or too aggressive. Maybe in like Enthroned Darkness, you had this kind of like the sort of it, but
Yeah.
there's always this focus on trying to make a quality sound. And I was just curious about the actual kind of like thought process behind the actual sound of the album. Like how far ahead in advance did you guys think about it? Because it's a really cool common theme, and it's for a lot of people kind of set the bar in terms of like sound quality. With the Puritanical album was one of those, and Death Cult back in the day as well. So I'm just curious about the actual sound of Dimmu Borgir, how it's morphed, and if you guys have this idea of how you want the album to sound before you go to writing, or you've done the writing and then.
Right. Well, the main idea is obviously always that we want it to sound good, sound big, and to reflect the songs on an individual level and also on a collective level on the album. So there's like in certain aspects you kind of have to give, and other aspects you have to take. To find that balance, and it's also important to have dynamics. Because our songs are like this. Some songs are more straight through, maybe more guitar driven. Other songs are full with orchestra, choirs, the whole shebang, and there's so many layers, and quite frankly very challenging to mix, not only live obviously, but also in the studio when you have everything perfectly recorded and everything. And it's like there's a lot of frequencies that needs to be put in its place. So but I think all our albums sounds different, also because we've used different equipment. We haven't had a distinct guitar sound, I think, but you can still hear it's us. You can still hear it's Dimmu. So if you compare it to a band like Hellhammer or Celtic Frost, where you have that typical, you can hear it's them, because of the guitar sound. We don't really have that per se, but we've always wanted to try new stuff, and upgrade, and but I don't think we have been too focused on having a particular Dimmu guitar sound. It's about getting it right for each album, and try and get it sound as good as possible live as well, and try and upgrade, and get on with the new updates around.
Yeah, no, I completely understand, and that's a very interesting point. It's like there's no signature Dimmu Borgir guitar sound, and that's really just resonated with me a lot. And that's also got me thinking as well, because with your current amp, how does that compare to the other amps that you've used in the past, like with your signature model? Like, how does it compare to the Engels you used? And I think you were using Black Star at some point as well. How does it compare to the other ones? And what makes this one the best for you?
It compares in the sense that I've always been a fan of the bottom end, like the harshness of a sound of a Marshall, for instance, like JCM 800. I still have my old one. I'm obviously not getting rid of that one. And I also like the sharp cut through of the PV, 5150, and I also like the subtlety and the more round aspect of a Mesa. So when I went in to develop this custom head with MLC in Poland, I just told them that these are the elements I would like to have included, the best of these three worlds.
Hmm.
So, and they went ahead with it, and yeah, it sounds fantastic, sounds amazing, and I'm really really happy about how they gone about it. And also not only that, but also the cabinets that they have made for me. So there's a combination, of course, from that as well, and those cabs are, I think, based more on the old Mesa cabs, the heavy, really heavy cabs. So because I don't want to have not much headroom. I want it to be like really dead, if you know what I mean, and then either add a tiny bit of reverb to the guitar sound instead. So that's how I'm developing my guitar sound. I'm still developing. You never find the perfect sound. There's always new stuff and new inspiration and tweaking going on. So
For sure, yeah, that's awesome
as
because
I'm sure you know.
yeah, yeah, of course. It's one of the reasons I've got all of these, because every amp has its own iconic sound. There's a certain thing you like from this amp, but then it doesn't do that thing the certain way. Yeah, it's hard because compromise is one of those things that you have to really think about in like the mixing process and even with songwriting as well. So with with Dimmu Borgir's songwriting, how does it compare to now compared to the early days? Because as you were mentioning before with the mix part of it, you've got probably 100 odd layers of orchestration. You've got guitars in there, and you've got all the mics from the guitars and the drums, and even the vocal layers, and just there's so much going on. But
Yeah.
it's in a good thing, and So I'm just curious about the actual songwriting process. Like, what was it like back in the day, and how has that changed over the years? And yeah, what's exactly changed?
Well, it's changed in the sense that back in the day we obviously didn't have the assistance from computers and great technology in terms of recording demos and stuff. So we basically built the songs in the rehearsal place, you know. And it was back then when you were younger, you were more like you thinking like, oh, do you have a riff? Yeah, do you have a riff? Yeah, let's see if it fits, and if it fits, it fits, you know. But now it's more like we have several riffs and ideas and themes for the same parts in the song. So we try and like, I mean, it's a whole different ball game now. And maybe sometimes I have the feeling that we uh, maybe a tiny bit too critical as well, because you know a song is good if the song is good, and if it's good and you listen back to it 3 months later and it's still good, then it's good, right? It's that's how we go about it anyway. And but back in the day, you didn't really have that chance. I mean, we still recorded at the rehearsal place with a boombox and stuff, and have tons and tons of tapes from back in the day, you know. And that's how we kind of like revised the songs and produced ourselves, you know, to do the changes and stuff. And then we went into the studio and recorded the songs the way we wrote them in the rehearsal place back then, you know. Now, of course, with the help of great recording equipment and plugins and all this stuff, we do demos of the songs way differently. We go down to the last little detail before we say the song is finished. You know, we even the leads, the vocal arrangements, the samples, whatever else that's on there, we try and demo the songs as much as possible before we go to the studio, so everyone knows what's going on. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You know, it's like everybody is on the ball and knows what's going on. And even so, a song is not entirely finished until it's mastered and sent off to the record label, you know. That's when it's done, basically. So but we try and be as prepared as possible, and it helps us a lot. It helps the engineer a lot, you know. And there's always tweaks and stuff being done while we record and during the mix and the master, you know.
Yeah, I can get that completely. And what's your songwriting process? Like, what do you think about when recording a song? Because it's, I love that you said that the Dimmu songs go like this. And I think one of the best examples for that is Kings of the Carnival Creation, which to me is one of the best written songs of all time because it's a
Oh
real,
wow,
yeah,
thanks.
no, because there's a real story in the music. There's a real story in the music, and I love it when after Gauda's solo, it comes back in with the dun 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 dun,
Right.
and then the bum 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 bum, and then Nick's going bah bah bah, like really bringing up the pace. At the end of the song, you feel like it's just like that part of the journey where it's just rising and falling, and it just gets like super high, and then yeah. So what's your general like approach to writing a song, and what do you think about when you write a song?
Well, the good thing to mention probably is to try not to think too much, especially when you start with the skeleton of the song. You let it kind of try and build itself. That's probably a paradox, but still, you try and just let it breathe itself into life, basically. And it's a journey for sure, because it's you never know where it's going to take you. And over the years, we've never had any challenge to come up with enough material. We have way more enough material for everything, but it's to try and scale it down again too, you know, and try not to copy yourself too much as well. So you kind of have to keep that in the back of your head. But the most important thing is if we in the room working on the song is nodding our heads, and there's a good vibe through the song, and we all are on the same page, basically. That's when you get the best out of each musician, each creator in the room, you know. And so that's how we've been creating songs for the last couple of decades.
And I think that's the best thing because there's I normally find that if it is kind of like okay, the crude way of putting it is like the song has to fuck, and the way you only get that is if you're because if you're recording into a computer and listening back, it's always going to be different in some way to how it's going to feel in the room. Because
Exactly.
if we take that
And then
first, oh, go on. Sorry.
no, I was just thinking about as also when you're getting in the comfort zone of being in your own studio, you record the song and you play the song, and then you're gonna go into the rehearsal place to rehearse the song before you start the recording of the album. And then you feel like maybe it's too fast here or it's too slow here, and then you have to go all the way back in and adjust, and that can be quite challenging actually because you've gotten so used to the demofied version of it, and then when you're actually going to play it and go through it, it's like we can still tweak the tempos here and there, and so it's never done until it's mastered in the studio. Yeah.
No, I agree, and that's one of the things. So I, by the time this comes out, I would have released a video about how I write riffs, and it always comes back to just getting a guitar and plug it into an amp and just playing, but
Yeah.
also making sure that when I'm playing something, the next riff feels natural, and I kind of like work subconsciously, like I kind of just let my body do most of the writing, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
then that way you can not only hear what's going on in the room before it's recorded, you're actually kind of feeling the sounds as well. You're checking if it's okay to play. And then
Mm,
once you start recording it, that's normally when I find I make a few tweaks where it's like,
right.
say you've got a riff and it's got an A ending and a B ending, and then maybe you want an A, B, A, C kind of thing, and and take it from there. And I think when it comes to recording demos, I think that's when that's a really good time to refine as
Yeah.
well. And of course, having other musicians there and working in the room now because it's very easy now for a modern guitar player to get kind of too caught up in a bubble. And
Yeah.
and if they, if they want to work that way and they're looking to just be a studio recording, then it's, completely fine. But the live show is a completely different beast. It really is a
Yeah.
completely different beast because there's so much more going on. There's lots more to think about, and just being able to make sure the audience and even you on stage feels the music. Like you got to feel like that you got to feel like your soul on fire kind of thing, and then that's how it's just feels right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And that's when you get the real feedback of a song or an album for that matter when you play it live, for the first times. And I noticed also on the previous album when we in the band are like, yeah, we gotta play this song, because it's got to be a hit live. We play it live, and everybody's like, all right, okay, well, that didn't work out. And vice versa, so songs that you don't think is going to take off live, it's like one of people's most favorites, so it's symbiosis of the energies of between the audience and the band.
For sure, yeah. And all right, I've got two questions. So what's your favorite songs to play live? And what Dimmu Borgir riffs are you most proud of?
Well, you mentioned Kings of the Carnival Creation. That's a fun song to play live because it has all these elements that we're known for. And as far as I remember, that was also a song that was everybody in the band contributed to. And I think people can hear that. So, and it's a long song, but when you play it live, it doesn't feel that long. So, in my eyes, that tends to be the sign of a good song, good, well-crafted song. I mean, it's always fun to play Morning Palace. It's an old song, and it's probably not one of the best um, uh, crafted we have in the terms of way we do it today. But it still has its ability, I think, and it comes across live really well. In the past, we tried a few times to end the set with Progenies, for instance, Progenies of the Great Apocalypse, and it didn't work although that's a song that everybody loves as well, so it has to be kind of like in the end of the set. But it didn't work, so we went back to ending the set with Morning Palace, and I think that's probably also why, because and then Throne Darkness Triumphant album came out. That was one, well, obviously the first song on the album, but it set us apart from our previous albums quite a lot, especially on the production side. And it got played heavily around the world and on promo discs and radio shows when still radio shows was around. And yeah, so that's a good way of ending a show. So, there might be songs that are maybe boring to rehearse, but once you're on stage, pretty much every song is cool to play because you're in the zone and you're there with the fans, and yeah, you just drift off basically.
Gotcha. And what about the riffs that you're most proud of writing in the Dimmu Borgir catalog?
There's I don't know if I can come up with any particular ones, but we are from the time where or the 80s, and we depend on a lot of power chords. And I remember when we also recorded for the first time with Peter in the Biz Studios, he showed us the power chords with the quint, and
Yes.
the three top strings to make it sound heavier. And it's like, wow, why haven't we thought of that before? So that became kind of like one of our trademarks, especially when there's keyboards, lines, and heavy orchestration, and we do full chords. We try to do the like full chords, all six strings, if possible, depending on what type of, if it's minor or major or whatever, but still to fill in that space basically. And so that's us maybe becomes some of our trademarks, I suppose.
Yes, because I was honestly about to ask you about that chord because it's because of Carnival Creation that I've used it in a lot of my kind of riffs, and I didn't realize it was Peter that showed you guys the chord.
Right. Yeah. I also remember when we recorded I think the Metal Heart cover song. That's when he pulled out the fifth string bass to fill in that really heavy bottom end on the beginning. Right. I was like, wow, that sounds amazing. Why haven't we thought of that either? So there was quite a few things we picked up with Peter for sure.
No, that was for me one of the biggest turning points when I started playing guitar, because was that,
Yeah.
getting those chords and having a guitar sound that heavy with just a six string, because it's become a bit of a meme and a common thing now. It's like when a new guitarist gets into metal, they tune down to drop D and just does all those like chuggy power chord stuff. But to get an even heavier sound in standard tuning, that just blew my mind. And I've still to this day I write using that chord because
Right. Cool.
and it really because nothing sounds like it, and you're only going to get closer if you have a seven. But even a seven sounds different to to those fifth power chords. And
Yeah. Exactly.
what about like the writing and the thinking process behind a song like the insight and the insight and the catharsis as well? What was the writing process for that song?
Well, I think it was more of the old school way that we wrote back then, because we still didn't use computers or anything, apart from we had a drum machine. But as far as I know, we finished that song in the rehearsal place, and it was heavily based on the keyboard passages, obviously. Um, but yeah, so it came about really easy as far as I remember. As easy as it can get anyway. So it's yeah. There's also another long song which I think represents the band's sound very well, because it has links to Kings of Carnival Creation in the sense that it goes up and down. It has big passages. It has aggressive parts, and so yeah, it's a good representative song for the band.
Epic, epic. And what inspired the change from you going from guitar and vocals to just guitar and having Shagrath do the vocals?
Well, I think it was basically because his vocals are much better than mine, and the way I see it, and he also wanted to take more of the frontman type of thing going on, so it just made more sense that way. And I'm glad we did the change in that sense because I remember the first few shows we did, we both did guitar and vocals, and I wasn't too comfortable doing both at the same time, and I guess he wasn't either. But he wanted to do vocals more, and I want to do guitar more, so it just made more sense, basically.
I see, and see that ties me into like two questions because what was the catalyst to start treating the band more like a business and really and was there ever a point where it was like, holy crap, we need to just commit to this 100% to get to our goals? And the second of which is what also inspired that more aggressive sound and kind of stepping away from the kind of the smoothness and almost like the kind of sad and melancholic atmospheric side of Doom Borgir, because there's a different side to Stormblast and Enthroned Darkness. Because I'm really curious about that kind of transition, Shagarath changing, the band becoming a lot more popular, and just the writing and the mindset at the time.
I think there's a lot of factors into it. The touring thing being one, and actually seeing that you can make kind of a living out of it. But it didn't happen overnight because when we started touring heavily in '97, our contract with the label at that time was not the best, to put it mildly. So we still didn't have the rights to our own merch and stuff like that, although we sold shitloads of merch, and that's something that bands depend on even to this day. So we got a management, and that helped us to kind of navigate through the so-called chaos, and that's how we knew that. Well, I think we subconsciously all knew that this was what we were meant to do anyway. So we didn't look at any plan B or anything, which I think is pivotal to make it. If you have a plan B, then you get kind of being drawn between plan A and plan B. Because if plan A doesn't work out, at least I have this. But we didn't think like that. We had nothing, and we still don't. So that's how you dedicate yourself fully to what you've been doing so far and you want to do for the rest of your life, basically. So I think that was really important to have a management at the time, and we reworked our deal and all that stuff, and things started moving in the right direction that way. Because let's face it, if you're young and you can't really hold a proper job on the side because you're out playing, and so luckily we managed to navigate through that thing as well. But so you depend on a certain income to be able to put bread on the table, right? And but it hasn't always been easy, and it's never easy. But I think something that's worth working hard for and fighting for shouldn't be easy either, So that's where I come from anyway.
Yeah, it makes sense because there's always behind, every great achievement, there's always some level of struggle, and it's like you have to become a new, not entirely like a new person, but become better and try and find more ways to improve, and try and just do what you can to achieve your goals.
Yeah, yeah.
Other
It includes a lot of sacrifices, and if you would ask me in 10 or 20 years from now, was it worth it? I would probably say yes. I would probably do the same one all over again.
Yeah. And what advice do you have for like people in bands and who want to be the next Dimmu Borgir, for example? What advice do you have like for the new musicians?
Well, it's hard to give advice because no one really gave us advice, and I'm not in the position to tell what people should do. But I could say, at least if you have the possibility of playing with others, it's important to obviously that you vibe and you're pretty much on the same frequency, and that it's also very important to know your position as early on as possible, so there's no um, misunderstanding in that sense, because let's face it, democracy only works in the band up to a certain extent, and then there's other decisions that have to be made, and it's easy to take the easy decisions, but when it's difficult and challenging decisions to take, then a lot of people then just move out of the equation, and you're left with one or two or three people maximum. And so it's very important that you find your place early on, and there's nothing wrong with being a leader if you have those capacities, and but there's so much stuff to do in the band that every post within the band can be held by different people, So let's say the guitar player and doesn't only have to do guitars, he can do guitars and something else, and the drummer can do drums and then something else in the administrative field. There's tons of stuff. So, but I think most bands, they don't think like this when they start out. They just want to play and jam and have fun, and that's how we started as well. And I think that's the best way to do it, and to see that if it's even something for you. You might like to play, but maybe you end up like playing alone instead. That's more of you as a person instead of there's so many equations in the pot here.
And I think that's a really important point that you raised there as well, is that everyone has to not only just play the music, but has to like pull a little bit of weight into like the band admin and organizing. Because really, like playing a show is 10% of the band, being a band. Everything else is like planning, organizing, booking rehearsals, practicing, writing, and actually like playing together is a very, very small part of being a band. But it's one of those things, it's like people only see what they see, and they're not really entirely sure of what happens behind the scenes. And it's so much easier if if one person is focused on like one thing and the other person focused on another thing, because then it just makes the whole job easier.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
everything is just so much, it's easier to manage.
Yeah, and it's nothing wrong to have a semi-military structure of it, that so everybody knows what their job is, apart from obviously playing the instrument and getting as good as they can on that, and it also depends on how many members of the band, what type of style you play, and there's so many factors in it. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And going back to Stormblast, because I saw on in I think it was some of the notes somewhere that Vikotnik did some vocal parts on Stormblast. What did he do exactly?
Well, that was on the. I think he might have done some vocals while we did the rehearsals, but he mainly did guest vocals on the first album for Altid. Yeah. So I think it just came around because we were hanging out at the time, and they had started Dødheimsgard, and yeah, so we were kind of in the same clique, and we recorded at the same facilities, and yeah, basically hung out. And he had a really killer voice. He still has. So yeah, that was cool to have him included.
Awesome. And with the Stormblast title track, what was the kind of approach to have the that kind of long hypnotic ending? Because Stormblast is one of my favorite Dimmu songs as well. I used to be like a kid, and I used to be like 15, 16, and Stormblast was a song that I listened to a lot because I love the way it was just it was written, because it has that flow. It has that up and down flow. It starts off. I'm talking mainly about the 1996 version when it comes in
Right, right.
with the
Yep.
last beat, and then goes into the like triplet grooves and stuff. And what was the idea in writing behind that song and having that long kind of?
Yeah, it comes back to what I said earlier. I think because we were jamming more back in those days than we do now, because that's just the way it is. And I miss that a lot, actually, because that's how songs like that progress. And I think it's just about being in the room together, vibing and jamming, and then like, yeah, the ending goes on for a long time, and it's just like, when should we stop it? Let's have it go for another round, and then you're just like, yeah, let's cut it here. It's more on spontaneity, and I think that's also something that you miss these days, because everything can be perfected on the computer, but as I said, like we do before every album, we go into the rehearsals place once the song is finished, and then jamming it to get everything set right, or to the feeling that we want. So that's but back then we just did it differently. We were jamming, and it's like, yeah, do you have a riff? Yeah. Do you have a riff? Yeah, let's see if it fits. And if it fits, then that's the start of the song.
Okay. And with the remake of Stormblast, the 2005 version, what was the how come you guys decided to have it in a more kind of like triplet feel in the beginning riff and add that little lead riff? Because at the beginning it was just it was this, wasn't it, for the beginning music?
Yeah, yeah.
And then the other
And then
one,
we added the lead on top, kind
yes.
of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what was
No,
the
it was
idea?
basically just to freshen up a little bit, I guess, to try and make it more interesting for ourselves without taking away the feel of the original. But then some people might say that, well, it doesn't sound anything like the original, and you're like, okay, fine, that's your yeah, you're allowed to do feel that, and I totally understand that. But and we also tuned down back to D standard, which we were playing at the time, because we switched to D standards for a while live. So we ended up recording the new Stormblast in D standard as well. So but there was a few edits we had to do to the re-recording. Obviously, the main reason for really doing it was to regain the control over the album ourselves, and also because it was not in circulation for years, and we think, and we still think, that it deserves to be out there, and so that's how we had to do it, basically.
It, I agree with that, and I think what would be a cool song to add to the Dimmu set list is Brother Scappert's Ring.
Yeah, I like that one, and it's even if it's a slow one, it has a lot of mood to it, and it's one of my favorites from the album, actually. Both the first version and the second version of the album. So uh, yeah, that would be a cool one for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I think Brother Scappert's Ring, like the way it's done in the 2005 version, there's I think there's so much that I love about it. There's so much that I love about it. I think because the D standard adds this kind of like layer, like this kind of
Yeah,
darkness. Because
yeah,
every tuning has a different mood, and if you
right.
transpose something, it's got a very very different feel to the end result. But what I love is what you guys. Okay, first thing that I love is that you added the old part of the song before the new version came. So it starts with
Right.
an old tape thing, and then it goes straight into it with
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
And the way the song picks up as well in the remake version, because the song does this
Yeah.
the whole time with a little bit of ebb and flow, but it really just does this. And
Yeah.
isn't it Gauda who did the leads on that in the remake? The all of those lead.
No, I can't remember how that came about. Actually, it's a good question. It's a good question. Um, but I think we did most of the guitars ourselves, obviously, and we had Mystis came in and did some of the keys. Obviously, Shagrat does a lot of the keys as well. And then Hellhammer offered to do drums, so that was a big thing for us. And then later on, he started touring with us, and obviously recorded In Sorte Diaboli. So that was a highlight.
Yeah, and at the end of the song where it's like at the end of that song and even the Stormblast remake where he's just changing up the groove constantly at the end of Brother Scarpa's Ring.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like, man,
that's his signature. That's typically him, and is cool to have that signature, because usually when you re-record something, you kind of want to stick as close to the original as possible, but you also want people to hear if it's different artists playing, then you need to have that signature in there as well. And so that's really cool that you did that.
Of course, and it's so important to have individualism. I can't remember what it is, but yeah, that
Yep.
individual factor of every musician in the song because it just sounds better. It just at the end of the day, it just sounds better because it sounds more like the collective. Like you can hear, oh yeah, this is definitely like a Gouda riff, for example.
Yeah, yeah. I
Um,
totally agree. Yeah.
yeah, and I love it. And speaking of that, another cool Dimmu Borgir song is Bird
Right.
because of that lead riff, the and it's so groovy.
Yeah.
It's so groovy. That lead part? That's a Gouda riff, right?
That's a typical Galder signature, yeah, for sure. And it's a song that we actually based off on the drum machine. Back then, we did most of the songs for Death Cult working with the drum machine to get the things right. So I remember when we went into the rehearsal place to play the songs, there was a lot on the drums that got changed for the better, obviously. Um, but that was also a good time when it came to pretty much everybody contributed to the songs, and put their signature on it. And it's a really cool collective effort, and it shines through also on the album. I think it's one of our strongest in the catalog.
I think so. It's definitely one of my favorites. And another song that I really liked off that is "For the World to Dictate Our Death" because of just the way it starts off. And it just goes so ham. And yeah, I think it's really cool. You got the harmonized riff as well, and yeah, would you bring that one back to the live set?
Yeah, it could do actually. I mean, I think it was in 2014 we did festivals and we played pretty much the whole Death Cult album. And that was fun to play. I mean, all those songs from that album is fun to play. And it's quite brutal. We might not have the most technical riffs, but you need to have stamina to play the stuff. It's not a walk in the park in that sense. So yeah, it's a really brutal, straightforward song, I guess you can say, but still it has that Dimmu feel over it for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And what made you guys want to write in a more brutal direction? Because if you compare like the first two albums to, um, yeah, even till now, there's a lot of brutality. It's like super fast blast beats. Because there's that song on the latest album, da-na-na, da-na-na, da-na. Alpha Aeon Omega. Is that the one?
Yeah, the last the ending song, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that one.
That goes on for a while, and it's pretty fast and brutal, and I think it's could be 260 BPM. I'm not sure, but it's up there anyway. And and that's every drummer these days can do that BPM quite easily, but to do it over a long section and stuff, it's quite challenging, I would say. So
And
yeah.
oh, sorry, no, just yeah, the bringing that brutality into Dimmu's music. What kind of inspired that? Because
I think to be honest, I think we always had our share of brutality, and we even have on the first albums. But I think the production is kind of covering for most of it, and that's why you also feel the huge difference in the production from Stormblast to Enthroned Darkness Triumphant. Because if you listen to Stormblast, the re-recording from 2005, and you put that close to Enthroned Darkness Triumphant, you can hear that, oh, the gap is not that different anymore. A song like Night Masquerade, for instance, which was written during the Stormblast sessions, is on Enthroned Darkness Triumphant, and it has that kind of like a crossover from that album. And So there's more similarities than you first think about. I think it's just the production has covered for a lot of it.
Gotcha. And when it comes to the actual production side of it, who comes up with most of the decisions on how the albums sound? Because I think a good constant, because I was going back to one of the first things that we talked about. It was like that constant of having a good sound. Like who kind of spearheads like the mixing direction and the actual sound of Dimmu Borgir?
That's a good question because it's a mix between all of us, I guess you can say, but also we put a lot of trust into the engineer, obviously, and in the past, it's never been a problem to get the drums, bass, and guitars together sounding killer. And but once you're done with that and everything sounds fucking amazing in the studio, then you put all the other layers on top, and the frequencies start going fucking apeshit, you know. And what you had as a killer guitar sound, and together with the drums, now sounds like what what the hell is going on, you know? So these days, obviously, everybody has the opportunity to with reamping and stuff like that, and that's something that we going to continue depend a little bit on because we always do drums first, then guitars, then bass, right? And once you set that as a good thing, that works killer alone. But then when everything else comes on top, then could be a lot of crashing going on. So then it's okay to have the opportunity to reamp, so you get the frequencies more set in the whole picture. Um, and I think I even have some recordings of just guitars and drums from several of the albums, and it sounds like fucking spot on. But when you listen back to the albums and how difficult it was to mix, you understand why it was difficult to mix. So you kind of have to learn from those type of scenarios for sure. That's something that's very challenging for us.
Yeah, I could completely understand that. And was there ever like an instance where it's like mentioning like back to give and take, was there ever this kind of thing where it's like, no, we need the guitar sound to sound like this and everything else has to change, or was there like that some level of compromise at any point?
There's always it goes back to just being in a band is a compromise.
Yeah.
So if you start from that get go, then things are a bit easier to deal with when you come to situations like that, because obviously everyone wants to hear themselves on an album that they put their soul into, right? um and then it's yeah, so many people in the bakery, you know, it's like it's a lot of throwing back and forth, but it's all about compromise. But generally everybody obviously wants the best for the album, and to have a professional engineer explain to you why it sounds like this if you do like this, and this is gonna in, have an intrusion on what you do up here, blah blah blah. Everything, it's a lot easier to compromise then if you get explained why it has to be like this or it has to be like this.
Yes, of course, because most of the time it's like this is good, you know, make it sound good. When it's like
Yeah.
it sounds good now, but when you do this, it's gonna yeah, that's it. And going back to that's one thing I wanted to ask. What inspired having Vortex and Mustis back for the insight and the catharsis at your Inferno show? Because I saw a clip of that because Cheyenne actually also big shout out to Cheyenne actually
Yeah.
from Manifestations, great dude. Because I saw on his like Instagram story it was like Vortex and Mustis back with Dimmu Borgir like playing Insight, and I'm just like my mind was just how did that come about?
No, I think it was just bound to happen, you know. It's strange that it hasn't happened sooner in that sense, but because we had Jodal with us on drums for a few times already. So, but this time, I guess everyone was like, yeah, why not ask them as well, since we're going to be in Oslo and home turf, and you know, yeah, that was an amazing thing, you know. It's cool for us. It was great for the fans, as far as I can tell when it comes to the response. So yeah, it was like back in the day.
Would you do it again?
Yeah, I mean, I'm up for anything, you know. It's anything that is exciting and makes sense. It's best of both worlds.
Yeah, because for me, there's always going to be like for me, my one of my fondest Dimmu Borgir memories is when I was first getting into like black metal and extreme music, and there was your Ozfest show from 2004, and I remember just watching Kings of the Carnival Creation, like that performance on repeat for a while, and there's still times where I'd always go back to this performance, and I'm like, this is how it's done, guys, you know, and
Yeah, no,
it's just that.
that was the time also when we toured a lot. We played a lot live, and also during Ozfest in 2004, we had our headline shows on the off days, as they call them. So we didn't have many breaks actually for 2 months. We were playing almost constantly in the States then, and that really helps you to get into the zone and in a way we haven't toured enough to be routine to get bored by routines or anything like that. So we always manage to keep it on a certain level, I think, and I think that's important because if it becomes a chore to play, you're going to lose some of that edge, I think. And I've always been a fan of playing live because there is no parachute, you know, and like, yeah, there's no plan B. If things you're out on the ledge, you know, you walk in a plank, and I like to be out of that comfort zone. And I think also the fans, even if I mean, mistakes always happen live, but I think it's also something that fans remember with a tongue in cheek in the sense that they fucked up a little bit here and there, and I was there to witness it. You know, it's like, so what? That's fine. It's cool. But obviously, you always do your best, and I think I remember 2004 Ozfest and the rest of the touring for that year was we played in South America as well, and we did quite a lot of shows as far as I remember for us anyway. So that was that helped to keep a certain standard of the performances.
Yeah, and yeah, it's just this memory that I have of just being like, shit, oh, when I grow up, I want to be like these guys. And it was actually one of the big reasons why I decided to get into heavy metal and well, more heavy metal music, more into Dimmu Borgir and actually starting a band because the big goal back in the day was to be the next Dimmu Borgir.
Right. Okay. Cool.
And that was the goal. But of course, life takes different paths, and it's kind of nice to be doing all this YouTube stuff now because in some ways, it's what you said about like finding yourself in a way,
Yeah.
because sometimes doing this feels just sometimes better than band life sometimes because there's so much else involved as well with this. There's kind of more things in my control, and I can kind of do things at my own time, and a band can get like extremely busy and stressful, but then it's then that case of people need to find themselves in what I enjoy. And the thing is, it's like with YouTube, it's been a really, really good journey because the Black Metal Legend series wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for me just making a video
Right. Right.
and just seeing how things spiral from there. And then um, see that's why I'm never kind of like bitter about seeing on a personal sense, I'm never bitter about the success of my band. And maybe not reaching that Dimmu Borgir echelon, but at the same time, it's like I'm kind of cool with it because I've been able
Mhm.
to do put energies into a different thing, and YouTube and doing the YouTube stuff is great because it's not just fulfilling for myself as well. Because the main focus of the channel and the main core ethos of the channel is to help inspire the next wave of black metal musicians.
Right. Right. Yeah.
That's the most
No,
important thing.
I think that's what you're doing is really important because you look at it from a little bit different perspective, more on from the ground up, and you seem to be interested in the history of the artist that you have on, and that's very important the next generations and the so-called YouTube generation, as I call it, and they need to also understand where the rest of us comes from, you know. So that's a good medium you have there for sure.
Oh, appreciate that. Thanks a lot. And I think it's also good to show people the kind of real life aspect of not only just being a band and writing music, but also the people in the scene, because it's very easy. It was a lot easier back in the day with less internet to kind of treat black metal and extreme music as this kind of um, it's very easy to romanticize
Right.
in
Yeah.
the sense that people think like, oh, this is all like weird and spooky, and they're all like mysterious people, and they're all like evil, and they're Satanists, and they drink blood, and they kill people or whatever, and it's just kind of like that's really not what. Yeah, that's really not anything really. But I mean, it's part of the history and that mystique, but it's really not the modern reality of what extreme and black metal music is anymore. Because the focus that I treat is like letting the music speak for itself, and I think that's
Right. Yeah. Totally agree, and that's where we have always been as well, you know. And romanticizing is fine, and that's all cool. But at the same time, after all these years, what's left and standing firm is still the music. You know, it's the musical legacy from all these bands, you know, and it stands the test of time. So everything else is secondary or is out there, you know. And Now it's, as you say, with the internet and everything, it's the mystique might be gone, but I think that means that bands and artists just have to work at that a little harder to try and recreate that through the music, you know. And Yeah, and also lay off the blood drinking a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Because I found that I've always naturally gravitated to bands that focus more on music and say the quality of their music, and really try and let the music do all the speaking, and try not to get that tied up with too many other things, because it's exactly like you said, like the music will always speak and the music will always be there. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. It's the most important thing to have someone be creative, create what they want to create, and trying to create the best thing possible. Because everyone's got their own idea of what they want music to be. And I
Yeah,
think it's more important for people to have their own individual personalities shining through in the music, because I'm guilty of this, case in matter being wanting to be the next Dimmu Borgir, for example, and wanting to play guitar like, I don't know, be able to play and come up with cool riffs like you and Gauda, or fucking Archaon or Shalva from 1349, for example. But then I realized like that's not me. Like, what's the music that I want to make? What's the music like? It's kind of being selfish, but in a selfish, creative way. I think that's the easy way to
yeah.
explain.
I mean, you have to keep a selfish mind in that sense, because it comes from you, right? So and you want it to be the best possible thing you can, and that's why yeah, it's not ego in that sense. Ego comes in if it's something negative, and it has a negative effect on yourself and things around you, or your bandmates, or whatever else, what have you. So um, it's that's why it's important to be happy with what you do first and foremost. Like, you're happy doing your YouTube channel, which is amazing, and I'm happy doing my stuff within the band, which is amazing. And it's like you're on the flight, and the flight attendant says that, well, if in case of emergency, put the mask on yourself first before you help the next one beside you. You know, it's really that simple. So you cannot. I mean, we cannot make the fans happy unless we are happy with it ourselves. And even then, there's always going to be people who don't feel it, who're not going to feel the new album, or but then there's other people that will, and that's how it is. It's being an artist is an ongoing project. It's not something you're done with. If you're done with an album, you're not really done with it because it's just ongoing. It's a progress the whole time.
Yeah, it's I remember because I used to teach guitar a lot, and a lot of people used to ask me was how long does it take to get good? And then I'm thinking like you're never where you want to be. It's always that ongoing journey. It's always that ongoing improvement, development, progress. You never stop learning guitar because you never stop learning new things. It's interesting because music and life are very, very intertwined, as in like the lessons of life are also very, very important for the lessons of music and art in general. And I think
Absolutely.
a
Yeah.
lot of people forget that because they see, because the interesting thing is that they see music and playing an instrument more as a skill, which is understandable, as opposed to art and life.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to have people think that as well. And I was having a chat with someone. I ended up just talking to someone just randomly in the street, and we ended up having like a good hour half long conversation about everything. And I really wasn't expecting him to say this, but he said like learning music is not only a skill, it's something that you can have forever and always teach someone forever. So there's so much value in having 12 notes and
It is.
I
It
forget
is.
what you do with 12 notes. And there's so much value in music and there's so much value in rhythms. And it's and
And
another
it's like two. I feel there's two types of people in the world. It's like those who like limits themselves to those 12 notes and those who use those 12 notes to just branch out basically. And it's, yeah, like you say, it's great to be thinking about skill and skill level and all that stuff, but if I would start out, I also had that mentality back in the days, like when is it when I'm gonna get good at this, you know? But you, at some point you just have to stop because you see yourself, not that you see your limits, but well, you see your limits in a way too, but also what is it that you think you're best at or good at? Try and focus on that, and not to totally forget what you're not good at because you want to improve, right? But for myself, I don't see myself as a very skillful guitar player, but I know how to play my own stuff. And But I look at myself more as a songwriter than a guitar player, first and foremost. And so, in my focus, since since I can remember, is like try and craft as good of a song as you possibly can with what you have on the table right now.
I agree because I remember going through a very, very similar thought process when I was like 16, 17. Because I remember like I was playing a lot of guitar, and back in the day I wanted to be like Iron Maiden, be able to play like all the Iron Maiden stuff. So the Iron Maiden chops, with all learning like the Trooper and Fear of the Dark and stuff really helped me on a technical level as well.
Yeah,
And then with the Dimmu Borgir stuff and trying to learn your songs at the time, I was like, bloody hell, how am I going to play like this lead riff in Verdesbjörd? And how am I going to, and how do they actually play, the da na 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 da na in the Serpentine Offering? And then
right.
it got to a point where it's like, okay, I need to stop thinking technically because really what I want to do is write songs.
Yeah,
And it was like when I came up with like a few riffs for a song that was Dimmu Borgir inspired, and I am actually going to show you this. All right, so using that inverted power chord, I came up with this riff. Three chords. Very very
yeah,
inspired by the Kingdom Carnival creation Puritania style of Dimmu Borgir guitar playing. But yeah, that chord helped me come up with that riff, and it was played live and it was always really cool. But I came up with that when I was like 15 or something, and then I started thinking, okay, I what about like writing songs? And then before I went to college when I was 16, that summer holiday, I effectively just I got my first audio interface, plugged into a computer, had no idea what I was doing, but it's all I had, and just tried to come up with songs. And that still has been one of the best things I've ever done for for myself, and for music and being creative, because that made me realize, like, hey, if I think of myself more as a songwriter, then I can write cool songs like X band or Y band. So I decided to really, really dive more into songwriting and trying to come up with like the coolest song possible. And me and my bandmate and old guitar, guitar player Billy, like he and I, we used to just like hang out in college a lot. We met in college and we started the band and started writing new music, and it was all about let's try and make the best song. And I find that
Yeah,
so much more valuable than technicality. And it's yeah. So I guess the moral of the story is, um, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, but also have like a good ear for like what
yeah,
works well in a song as well, and really try and like pick apart what works well in a song. Because people ask me sometimes, how do I write a black metal song? And I'm like, first of all, you got to know what you want from the song,
yeah.
and then that kind of makes things a lot easier. And then that ties me into another question that I wanted to ask you, which is, what makes a Dimmu Borgir song? What are the core themes and the requirements to make a Dimmu Borgir song?
Well, I usually say that when people ask me, so what is black metal? Well, black metal for me is atmosphere. That's the main description of how I see black metal. I see Merciful Fate as black metal. I see early Samael as black metal. Um, and I see maybe even Archgoat as black metal, but they all sound very, very different from each other, So um, to me, it's all about the atmosphere and what it gives me as a listener. If I can get visions there and then on the spot and drift off and imagine stuff, then that's atmosphere. And then obviously it has to have a certain typical dark element to it. Otherwise, it's by default it's not black metal. But um, so that's something we always think about when we create a Dimmu song as well. It has to have some. It has to be dimmified first and foremost, and by whoever's involved, it's going to end up more like more or less like as a dimmified song, right? So and yeah, the atmosphere is the most important thing. If we want to go in the more aggressive direction for that song, then we try and make it sound aggressive with whatever we have at the table at the time. And but if we want to have a more moody, more melancholic thing, then we go that direction. So um, if we start with, let's say, two themes or two riffs or whatever, then you pretty much can stake out where the song is going to go. So and that's a good thing about this band. Over the years, obviously, we had so many lineup changes, but everybody that has been involved at a certain time has added and contributed to their sadness, their aggression, their anger, their loss and frustration, whatever it is, into the band, and that has helped the band at that point in time to sound the way it does. So, and that obviously you want to keep the lineup you have as long as you can, but sometimes you can't, and that's when the bad or the, not the bad decisions, but the challenging decisions come in. And I always use this uh, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley thing, that if you would have Peter and Ace do fronting the band, would Kiss be where they are today? And that's obviously not to take anything away from Peter and Ace, but it wouldn't be Kiss probably. So that's something to think of.
Yeah, for sure. And I think as well with the Dimmu Borgir sound, there's there's so much room for kind of like experimentation in a way, and so many chances for you to try new things, because the beauty of having albums the way you guys have is because there are themes that make a Dimmu Borgir song, like you said, like the atmosphere and that mood, but then you've also got like this scope to try completely different sounds and new things. And I absolutely love that, because it's it's good when bands have different sounding albums. It's really good when bands have different sounding albums, because it's not just copy paste. And I think that's really In the long,
No,
in the
we
grand scheme of things,
yeah,
it's
and obviously we are a band that and that don't release albums every second year either. So when we do release an album, it's gonna sound different than the precursor for sure. That's just the way it is, and if you take all the elements into it with the production, the way you have you write songs now than you did differently from 2017, 16, 15 when we wrote the Ionian album, which is now like almost 10 years ago since we wrote those songs. So it's crazy to think about. In a matter of that time, you will look at the world differently. You will look at yourself differently. You will look at your instrument differently and your songwriting differently. So if you take all this into the equation with an updated production and a different engineer perhaps for the next album, then it's like, yeah, and then you have a completely different product.
for sure. And given the scope and the timeline of Dimmu Borgir, what do you think have been like the biggest highlights or turning points in Dimmu Borgir's career?
Well, every I can say for sure that every highlight is to be able to release a new album. That's a highlight in itself because we know how much it goes into it and all the sacrifices behind it, which it should be. So that's like a milestone every time we do a new album. Of course, to then later on go out and share some new songs and the older songs with the audience in terms of performances is like the for me at least the cream of the crop. You know, that's when the songs comes to life in a different way. You know, and just like Dimmu has the perfect side when we're on the album in the studio. That's when everything is perfect, right? But live, I feel like the aggression and the more spontaneous part of the band comes through. So then you have us in a different section in a sense. So I'm really proud that we can show the audience the band in two settings, basically. You know, and so no, there's been tons and tons of highlights. You know. Enthroned Darkness being one of them because that's when we really started to put ourselves on the map. We put a lot of work into touring, and things really were starting to move, you know, and also Puritanical and maybe especially Death Coat as well was milestone in the band, and yeah, Aeolian, of course, but I think also Abra when we recorded with the Cork Orchestra was a great achievement. You know, not only the album but also the live show that we did with the orchestra, both the Cork Orchestra and the orchestra from Prague at Volkin.
Yes, yes, because I remember it was when Abrahadabra came out. That's when I was, super into Dimmu Borgir at the time, and it just blew my mind that a band would have like that tenacity to be like, no, let's get an orchestra in, guys. Let's fucking go in and get an orchestra with the music as well. And that just blew my mind at the time. And I wish I was able to see you guys at the Oslo show with the orchestra because that would have been, it's such a special show. Like I just see videos from it, and I'm just like, damn. And will there be more Dimmu Borgir shows with orchestra?
Well, never say never. The only thing that probably stops it is the financial aspect, I guess, because it's such an undertaking, you know. But never say never. We would definitely be looking into it if the possibility is there, you know. Because let's face it, it works. We've shown it, and we could do it again for sure. But it takes a lot of planning, and what was really different between those two orchestra shows was obviously with Cork, they had already played on our album, and they were renowned. Most of the renowned orchestras in Europe, you know, and Cork Orchestra at NRK. And so when we did that show, that went kind of flawless. I would say the only thing technically that didn't, work, as far as I know, was there was one black screen somewhere in the production. That's the only thing that didn't work in the sense. So, and then the year later, we play at Wacken Open Air in front of 75,000 people or whatever, and you have 45-minute changeover, right? And you're gonna mic up 100 people on stage in the festival setting. It's like, what can go wrong, you know? But that went well as well, and it's cool to have been able to do both type of settings. You know, the perfect orchestra show, and then the more rock and roll based attitude to it, without any sound check or anything. You know, so yeah, it's all about preparation, though.
Oh, no, because I've yet to see you guys play. Um, yeah, I know I need to at some point. If I need to travel, I need to see Dimmu Borgir now because it's been way too long since I have. You're probably one of my favorite bands I haven't seen yet, and I'm always like, damn. And I remember you guys did the Enthroned Darkness tour, and my college classes were in the evening, and I really should have just been a rebel and just gone to the gig. That's one thing that I regret, but hey, I need to.
That was when we did the Enthroned Darkness tour in full. And was it 212?
Uh,
211, 212?
yeah, it was 2011, 2012, around that kind
Yeah,
of
it
time.
was around that time. Yeah, yeah.
I would have loved to have seen it because I know you played I can't say it properly in Norwegian, but is it Rabjon Draheimen Rabjon Spila Draheimen Skodde?
Yes, that's pretty good.
Cool. Yeah,
Very good.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a song I really want to listen to live because I remember hearing it on fucking Godless Savage Garden when you've got the
Yeah.
that chord progression is just like so cool, man. And it's that chord. It's
It's very very simple, but it has a lot of feeling to it. You know,
exactly.
it's as simple as it can get, pretty
Yeah,
much. But
and it's so beautiful the way the chords ring together. And it's that second chord.
yeah,
It's just that very
it rings out in between each other. So it makes a full landscape out of those
yeah.
two riffs, basically.
It's
So
so it's so icy. I
right,
love
right,
I,
yeah.
I love it. It's so I mean that's the picture I get like mountains and ice and frost winds and stuff and it's so
So
special. And was that one that must have been one of your riffs?
yeah, that's actually one of my first guitar riffs in that sense that I actually was like, oh, so worked out that songs. And back then we did a lot of open string stuff that we thought, oh, with distortion it sounds kind of like eerie, you know. And it's like, yeah, let's keep that. And so now when we play this song live, we kind of like take aspects of the first version and we take aspects of the re-recorded version, so kind of blend it together. And obviously some of the songs we play live from the newer stuff anyway are has to be in click, but this song in particular is obviously not on click. So it's always cool to like, what tempo are we going to play it today, you know?
Oh, wow,
So
great. I didn't realize that you because I would have thought that every song that Dimmu Borgir played live would be with a click now.
no,
Oh wow, okay. That's peculiar, but cool.
yeah, no, we it's I mean, we could, and we have tried even playing certain songs off the click, but it was like, nah, let's keep it to the original, and let's just let it flow, you know. And that's just how it is sometimes, you know. You after a while you figure out what's working and what's not working so well. So yeah.
That's epic. And do you guys play that song more often now than you did before?
It's been pretty consistent in the set, I would say, because we haven't been um, playing too many old songs in the last few years. So, but this has been pretty consistent in the set, I would say, and it's a cool song to play live for sure. It's very short and it has like almost like a rocky feel to it as well, and
Yeah.
it has typical Judas Priest thing in the, you know, it's like very typical heavy metal 80s style to it as well.
but it works so well. That's one of again, that's one of my favorite Dimmu songs as well.
Yeah, it's one of mine as well. It's not because I made it, but it just works. It works really well live, and the fans like it, and yeah, it sounds cool.
Yeah. And are there any other songs that you want to bring back from the past?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing with us. After so many albums and so many years, you have so many songs to choose from, and like you mentioned, Broderskapers Ring, which would be cool song to add to the set for sure. But I mean, there's tons of older stuff and songs that we played in the past that we haven't played now, which always works. And so, but that's a good thing, I have so many things to choose from, so many songs.
Because I was thinking about this the other day about like cool Dimmu songs to bring back from the past. I think Dreamside Dominions would be a cool one.
We have
Dude,
never played it live, so that would be a
really?
first thing. No?
Oh, hell yeah, yeah. That's okay, yeah, Dreamside Dominions. That would be a really cool one to bring back.
Yeah, yeah.
Um is it in indoctrination with the when you got like dun 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 chun, chun,
Yeah,
chun,
that's
chun.
indoctrination. Yeah, that's also a song we played quite frequently on and off in the past, and it always works well. It's a brutal song, but it also has this really doomy kind of gloom feeling with that, and very orchestral type of feel. Like I feel like it's could be like Prokofiev or something for that part that you mentioned.
Yeah, and Cataclysm Children could be really cool. Um, what else? Cataclysm Children, and well, a personal favorite is the Sacrilegious Scorn, just because it's so
Oh,
bad.
really? Okay, yeah.
It's so groovy, man.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's cool. I don't think we've played it since the Insorted touring cycle. Can't
Yeah,
remember anyway.
and there was
It's been a while.
there's another song. Hang on, I need to bring it up now because I've forgotten the name. It's the Dimmu Borgir song of In Sorte Diabli that has the
Right.
that one.
It's yep. You're thinking about one of the
It,
last songs on the album, right?
it's
So fundamental alienation. No.
I think it's The Conspiracy Unfolds.
Right. Yeah. 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 I think it is. No, we haven't. I don't think we played that one. If we have played it live at all, we haven't done that since the cycle of Insortes either. So that's yeah.
I think that would be a really cool one as well. And would you guys ever release a Dimmu Borgir tab book? As in like either a greatest hits tab book or like a tab book for your specific albums?
Yeah, I mean that could be an idea for sure. Because the few times I'm on YouTube and see people play some of our songs, it's like you got the melody there, but it's not the way it's played, and that's how it is. I think that's more common than not. So because obviously some of our songs and the production can make it really muddy to hear what's going on with guitar, especially. So that's understandable. But yeah, tab book wouldn't be a bad idea.
Because there's one part in particular, and I think I've clocked it, but it's in going back to what you're saying about things that don't people play correctly. It's the morning palace bit. Hear the cries of the morning palace, and then you've got a lot of guitar chords that used to do something like that. But you guys are doing
Yeah,
like
almost correct. Yeah, almost correct.
it's a it's is it like that or is it
It's
anything that you
almost correct, but you only move the pointer finger on the first.
oh like that?
Right. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and I think one of the reasons why Morning Palace works as a finale song as well is because of the ending of that song. Because you got the da, na, 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 that kind of like cool build up at the end. Like it kind of draws people and mellows people in with that groove, the dun 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 dun
Yeah,
dun. And then
it
you got
has. If you think about it, that song, like I also mentioned earlier, it's probably not the best crafted songs we have because it has quite a few stops in it, which means that we have, what are we going to do now? Yeah, let's put
hmm,
this riff here. But it works.
yeah.
Live, especially, it works really well. And so I think there was a time in the past where like, yeah, let's try and avoid as many stops as we can in the songs. But now it's like, let's write the song and write the song, and let's see how it feels, even if it has 10 stops in it. You know.
And that's really the best thing, really, because I like how sectioned Morning Palaces is. One of those things that works as well. And oh yeah, In Death's Embrace, that's another really cool song. Of
Right? Yeah, we haven't played that for a while. It's
That would be a good one to bring back as well. And
yeah.
oh, so I remember. So a friend of mine and I, for the channel, we decided to do a Dimmu Borgir versus Cradle of Filth kind of like riff battle kind of
All
thing.
right.
I transcribed the keyboard melody on guitar.
All right.
That was a
Cool.
pain because you have to be so
Yeah.
on it, and the amount of repeats and stuff, and that was, yeah. I love In Death's Embrace because it's so, again, it's just so groovy, and I love that keyboard break in the middle as well.
Yeah, and it has like a lot of the stuff on, especially on Throne, I guess, has a lot of regular heavy metal passages, you know, and regular heavy metal chords and stuff like that. So I guess it just shows where our upbringing is from, you know, late 70s, early 80s, and or full 80s basically. But yeah,
And it's great because the guitar playing in Dimmu Borgir has developed over time. Like there's a lot of quite technical guitar parts in even in Sorte and the newer albums as well. And one part that stood out to me because some it's really interesting because someone actually asked if they wanted a riff lesson on it, and it's the Gauder's clean guitar part in the Serpentine Offering.
yeah,
And that's like I remember learning it from watching. There was a video that you guys did back in the day where you broke down the Serpentine Offering and Chosen Legacy. And I remember
right.
learning it, but I haven't played it in so long. But I actually got it like note perfect, finger positions, everything, and that is so tricky to play.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky. That's why he plays it, and not me.
Even the Verdesbeard riff, like I've been playing that song and well, playing that riff on and off for years, and it's always that second phrase, the fucking hell, it's actually going to be on camera now. I can't fuck this up, but this bit,
Yeah,
well, he's got to see. I'm fucking it up now, but
there you go. Yeah.
yeah, and it's that second phrase.
Does it feel unnatural to you?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
very very unnatural because I'm never doing these kind of like open chord shapes and stuff. But
right.
yeah, Verdesbeard, what a
Yeah,
great.
we have quite a lot of unnatural stuff, I suppose. But for us, it's totally natural. You know, it's just it might not be what people would call musically correct or whatever, but who cares? Who gives a fuck, right?
It's better.
Yeah,
It's better like that because there was a time period where I was writing and I was so locked into the natural minor scale, for example, and now and it's just I'm like, why was I doing that? You know, it's so much easier to let your the wrong notes just sometimes sound better. Like it
yeah,
should,
yeah,
things that shouldn't be there just sound better because I don't think it's good to limit yourself when you're songwriting. I think it's good to have certain themes, which you could say is a limit, but when it in the
yeah.
actual
But it's, you also have to think, especially from where we come from, or and many Norwegian bands, especially, we've used a lot of dissonance, you know, and also creating dissonant riff by um, with a mistake, and that mistake, oh, let's keep it in there because it sounds fucking eerie and cool, and let's keep, yeah, but it's not, keep it because it sounds cool, you know.
yeah.
uh, that's how we have grown up writing our music. And obviously we have taken a lot of inspiration when it comes to the dissonant style. Snorre and Torns, of course, the main creator of that style, you know, that everyone has kind of ripped off, but also at the same time done their own um, expression of it. I know that Jonan Dissection was heavily influenced by Torns. You can hear that in Dissection's music, right? And so that he's been an originator when it comes to black metal, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Snorre is he's awesome, man. He's awesome. He's yeah, great dude. And going back to one of Dimmu's songs, actually, I'm going to swap guitars because it's actually in D standard. One thing that popped to mind was Sorgen's Kammer Del 2 off the Storm Blast remake, where
Really
it's
sorry.
yeah,
Right, right.
that's dissonant as shit, and it's
Yeah,
so
it is.
and actually, I want to ask you while I've got this guitar now, that first riff, is it played like this? Or you
Yeah.
guys hold the monocle? What hold the monocle? Okay, cool. I got.
Well, no, it's on, yeah, it's a low-re thing. And
Oh,
you just add the pinky finger. No, not the pinky finger, the pointer finger.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah. That because
yeah,
that's you guys made the music video for that as well.
yeah. We did. It's and you know what? That song is back then we comprised it of some old riffs and some new riffs, and I think we basically made that song in an evening, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, wicked. And it just
Pretty
worked.
much. I mean, we had the basics down, and I remember we were jamming the songs with Hellhammer, of course, because we were practicing for the re-recording, and we wanted to make a new song, but in that type of style, so to speak. So I think that came out really cool, and we played it a few times live, but it's been a while now, so maybe that's another song that we could look at,
Yeah, that would
bring
be
it
like
back
a
into
nice
the
song.
set.
Yeah, a nice song to like break up the set. Like if
Yeah,
yeah, like if you've got like brutal song, Sorgen's Kammer, then whatever. I think that'll work
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
And actually, while I have this guitar, another songwriting quirk that I picked up on in Dimmu Borgir is a rhythm, which is this. Having that rhythm, in a lot of the writing.
Yeah.
Dan, dun, 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 dun. Whose idea was that, and who kind of coined that for Dimmu Borgir?
I'm not sure if it's because I play guitar like that, and I know Shagrut has played guitar like that, so that comes from both of us, I think, from the
Awesome.
from the old days anyway. So, but the thing is that when we like back to the YouTube thing, when people are playing some of our riffs, it's they're on the right track, but certain riffs have like full chords, all six strings, right? Um, the minor chords anyway. So, and when they play it with two strings, obviously it doesn't recreate that feeling. It's not correct, but it's note by note it could be correct. But to get that full wall of dissonant feeling, you have to obviously play all six strings, and that can be tricky when it goes fast or if it's like has a rhythm to it.
Yeah, yeah, because it forces you to have that kind of wrist dexterity where it's like,
Right. Yeah.
and yeah, it all comes back to Thorns. All comes back
Yeah.
to Thorns, and yeah, that signature. I love Thorns, man. I
Yeah. Me
absolutely.
too.
I love. What's your favorite Thorns song?
Oh, that's you put me on the spot now. I think well, I grew up with the demo stuff, didn't I? So, but I think it's when I listen to bands like Torns, it's the whole thing that
Yeah,
gives me not particular song or riff. It's the whole
yeah.
thing, right? When you put the headphones on, just like drift off. Other bands I listen to because it's like yeah, it's cool, technical there and stuff. And it's one or two or three songs, and then I move to a different artist or whatever. But with certain bands like Torns, for instance, it's the whole thing. I need to sit down, and just like leave everything else.
Yeah, it's a really kind of it's so riffy but so soundscapey at the same time. I love it. I love it,
Yeah,
man. Um, yeah, that Thorns album and even the Grimmock demo. Holy crap, that's just
yeah.
it's just special.
It's part of Norwegian music legacy. I would go as far as to say that. We have Grieg, we have Ole Bull, we have several others. Munch and whatever type of artist. But yeah, Torn should definitely be up there.
I think so too. See, like going back to Munch, like a lot of his paintings are kind of like dark and show this kind of weird kind of like mindset or maybe even negativity as well. What do you think the see this might sound like a bit of a weird one, but it's like do you think there's what is it about Norwegian art that kind of has do you think has fallen into this kind of like darker territory? So because it's something that I've just like I've given it a little bit of thought, and it's just what do you think could be like the parallels between an artist like Monk talking about dark themes and even a musical genre like black metal as well.
It's most likely a mountain spring water. No, I don't know really what it is. I think it's um something ancestral,
Hmm.
um something to do with uh, this part of the earth. Nature, of course, has something to do with it. I would say anyway.
Mm.
So yeah, you can draw similarities between the paintings and the music and stuff. That's for sure. It has a combination there, I think.
Gotcha. Because I'm thinking about my like my kind of like journey into music as well. So I'm from a, Indian background as well. So I grew up listening to a lot of Indian music, and my dad was into like hip hop as well, and get and a lot of British music is very anthemic as well. Like say Iron Maiden, for example, and Black Sabbath is very like vocal, sing along kind of melodies. As kids, we have like group assemblies, like singing assemblies as well. And if you like, even in like modern culture as well, a lot of I mean like modern pop music, a lot of British fans as well. They're sing along kind of people. So there's always been, I think that like when it comes to like my influence as well, there's always been some kind of like hook or melody that needs to be written in the music or something that has to be catchy at least.
Right.
Well, and even with like listening to Indian music, a lot of it is kind of like complex with like the kind of vocal melodies and like arrangements as well. And a lot of like traditional Indian folk music can also be quite chaotic as well. It's
Mm.
almost similar to someone going tak 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 on the drum, for example. It's very kind of like all over the place, and it's interesting how someone's upbringing can influence the music that they make, like even subconsciously, and they just don't even realize it. Because I'm noticing now like with age for fuck's sake, like there's musical influences that I'm kind of like picking up on from things that I didn't even realize was like like cartoons, TV shows and stuff, and old video games, for example. And it's very
Yeah.
strange, like with the Dimmu Borgir and stuff. Like, was video games ever like an influence to your writing? Like, were you guys ever like video games? Did that
No, not really. And that might be weird to hear that, but no, not really at all. It's more like you would also think that maybe it was movie scores and classical music, and people in the band have classical upbringing and stuff, but not really. It's just having an affinity for atmospheres and things, all things dark and sorrowful and melancholic and yeah, and just darkness. Yeah.
mm. Yeah, because I guess it's all part of that expression. Because one of the reasons why I got into this music, I wanted to make the music, is because I was a pissed off kid. Like
Right, right.
putting
Yeah.
in the bluntest way possible. It's kind of like I just wanted to, I don't know, man. It was like this time when I was like 15, 16, and people were trying to, like, I was getting into like the really heavy stuff, and then people were like, hey, you should listen to this band, and they're really heavy, and they really weren't. And I was like, what's going on? I remember back in the day when I wanted to write music, it had to be like the most like aggressive stuff possible
Right.
because I wanted to prove a point to people like, hey, this is how extreme music can be. and it's kind of still like that in a way because the way I write now with one of my bands is like it's kind of in that kind of 1349 style territory of everything has to be like really fucking aggressive,
Yeah, yeah.
really aggressive, and I like it like that. I
I
like it like
like it like that too. I mean, I think a lot of people think that since the way Dimmu sound like the way we sound, they think that, oh, you must be listening to a lot of melodic type of music, and yeah, sure, we listen to that as well. But our main inspiration, if you can call it that, would be old black metal and death metal and old obscure cult heavy metal. And then of course there's new bands coming along that gives you a different perspective, and it's like, oh, this is cool. But mainly for the main inspirations is we go back to the old albums. It's just the way it is. And the cool thing about it too is that when you are away from it in periods of time, you listen to it differently. You pick up different things that you didn't do earlier, and it just triggers something. And that means that, for me anyway, that music is alive. It still lives, even if it was recorded in 1991, or 89 for that matter. It still lives because it gives you something new. It gives you, kind of replenishes you,
exactly.
replenishes your darkness.
You're 100% right because I lived in South Korea for a year, and out there it's just K-pop, non-stop K-pop everywhere.
Right.
Like I was teaching English there, so all the students, they want to listen to like K-pop songs as well, and then that made me really appreciate black metal a lot more. I was
I
so
bet.
far away. I was so far away from it, and my daily routine when it came to working in Korea was wake up, go to work, come back, just go straight into like YouTube and playing guitar and getting back to black metal and extreme music in general. And it just made me realize like yeah, like it when you're away from it and you don't have many gigs and heavy metal shows is not as popular and you're kind of away from that kind of culture, it makes you realize what you had. So that it really made me appreciate like music and the dark arts, if you will, a lot more because it just kind of just became so much more interesting because it's a law of opposites. Like you
Yeah,
said, it's
yeah.
kind of like the give and take in songwriting. It's like, say, for example, in a song, you've got a really aggressive blast beat heavy section and tremolo pick guitars that are just, sawing away. But then you've got like this melodic line, and instead of it being tremolo picked, it's single notes. But having the simplicity of the single notes and having that simplicity of the single notes and having, that less and that difference kind of emphasizes everything else a bit more. And it was that kind of aspect, but to life as well. It was like there was no it was very, very strange. I've really enjoyed it there. I'm not going to knock the place. It's still the best place I've lived, the little city I lived. But
Mm.
when it comes to understanding art and stuff, it's a lot easier to get involved with arts here and to really absorb it and get into that part of the culture in Europe because there's that stronger sense of like rebellion and people having their own identity here. And again, that's really what it comes down to, like music and the great artists and songwriters is always having that identity. What makes them them, what gives them their own sound, the lack of conformity, if you
Mm.
will. And
Mm.
that stuff when it comes to like art and creativity is so special. And you know,
Yeah, because there are no rules. There's no a limit to it in that sense. And like you said earlier about ripping off like or ripping on the guitar really fast and getting the anger out. It's like we all have our way of meditating. You don't have to sit still to meditate. Every time I'm on stage, for instance, it's kind of like a meditative state in a way. I just block everything out, and it's just me and the band and the people there. It's like in a bubble, so to speak. And
yeah, and it's about getting into that zone and really just absorbing everything around you as well in the bubble. And then that's when you could be like fully immersed because it's one of those things like when I'm on stage, it's like I'm a completely different person.
mm,
And having that is really interesting because it's kind of like a big shut off to everything else. It's like your mind just goes blank, but you can like focus 100% on this one thing, and that is putting on a damn show and getting and expressing yourself,
Yeah,
getting that.
you kind of become one with your instrument, and it's for me, it's like the same. It's kind of like an extension of myself. Obviously, I'm Silenoz off stage as well, but on stage, that's where it all encapsulates into one.
Yeah, and it's important to have that as well. Like have the because then that well, yeah, it's what separates yourself to the artist as well. Because when you're doing the thing, you are the artist, and I think it's good to give 100% to being that artist as well,
Yeah.
um, and giving the music what the music needs. What's the best advice you can give people who are starting to learn black metal guitar and want to start bands? What's the best advice you can give them?
Um. Well, get a decent guitar if it's guitar that you want to play, and yeah, and maybe a little practice amp type of thing, and just take it from there because it's you don't have to have fancy equipment or anything like that because you will figure it out if it's in your hands and if you're in your spirit, if it's something for you, and a lot of great stuff has been recorded on very minimalistic equipment. So um, that could be an advice I can give because you don't have to go full on with the instruments, you know.
Yeah, cool. I agree. I think people get too caught up in what they're playing rather than their actual playing.
I
Yeah,
totally agree.
yeah,
Yeah.
I totally get it.